Yeah, guys, we're just talking about the mystery of Atlantis itself. The myth of Atlantis. It's kind of crazy. That a lot of people, still think it's kind of like a mythological science fiction land. But there's like a lot of evidence for existence of Atlantis. Like Plato's Timaeus, if you read Timaeus, talks about uh Plato describing a civilization 9,000 years ago, but existence of a huge civilization that is advanced in technology and it's made of like a concentric circles. Like Atlantis, the civilization of Atlantis actually existed. It's kind of crazy if you read the book, and he describes it like Atlantis fell due to the corruption, and like also like a there's not inclusive evidence about a great flood that destroyed it, but mainly due to Atlantis fell due to like mass corruption. There's also like a lot of like esoteric explanation where Atlantis being like destroyed because of people using black magic and shit, and everybody was fucking each other up. So that's just watch a video about the forbidden archaeological evidence of Atlantis, the forgotten civilization.
Continue to reshape our understanding of deep history. The Rishat structure in Mauritania stands as one of the most unusual geological formations on Earth, with its massive circular ring spanning more than 40 kilometers across the Sahara. Its shape mirrors the concentric layout of alternating land and water rings described by Plato in his account of Atlantis, giving rise to theories that the site may preserve the faint memory of an ancient city. The structure's symmetry and scale appear almost too perfect.
I don't know. It existed in like a Saharan desert. Like the word Atlantis means it has to be in the Atlantic Ocean, right? Like,
to be dismissed without consideration,
and it was like an island that actually sank. It was also like a part island.
Especially given the global fascination with lost civilizations. The resemblance between the Rishat's form and the ancient narrative continues to intrigue both researchers and alternative historians. Geological studies reveal erosion patterns within the rings that suggest the presence of flowing water in the distant past, contradicting the current barren desert environment. These patterns align with the idea that the Sahara underwent dramatic climatic shifts that once allowed rivers and lakes to thrive across what is now desolation. Deep channels etched into the bedrock and sediment layers hint at prolonged periods of water activity rather than brief floods. Such findings open the possibility that the Rishat structure was once part of a vastly different landscape. Speculation grows stronger when considering that the Sahara experienced multiple humid periods during prehistory, enabling lush vegetation, wildlife, and possibly early human settlements. In those periods, the region could have resembled a coastal or island-like environment far more compatible with Plato's descriptions. The local topography suggests that water could have filled the concentric depressions, forming natural canals and basins that later dried out under extreme climatic change. This transformation could explain why no obvious traces of habitation remain visible today. Connecting these clues to ancient accounts raises the possibility that the Rishat structure represents a real location dramatically reshaped by cataclysmic forces over thousands of years. If a thriving society existed here before,
and if you dug into the rabbit hole of this like forgotten civilization, like there's a lot of underground ancient civilization burial evidence, archaeological evidence under the sea, but a lot of old civilization. It's kind of crazy. There's one in like Cuba. There's one in like in Japan. Like there's a lot of evidence for like ancient civilization, advanced civilization, monuments and structures under seawater. Like if you dug into that rabbit hole, it's crazy.
The desert formed, its remains would likely have been eroded, buried, or scattered beyond recognition. Catastrophic environmental change can erase human presence so thoroughly that only geological footprints survive. For this reason, some researchers view the Rishat structure as a compelling candidate in the long search for the true birthplace of the Atlantis legend. Other clues come from the Bimini Road in the Bahamas, a formation of massive rectangular stones arranged like a paved platform beneath the sea. While mainstream archaeology considers it natural, the precision of the blocks, their alignment, and the way some appear fitted together continue to raise questions.
They are laid out perfectly symmetrically. I can swim along the side of the row, and I can see accurate level and precision. It's a very impressive sight.
The discovery of the Bimini Road in 1968 immediately sparked debate about whether the massive stone blocks resting off the coast of Bimini could be remnants of a long-lost structure.
So now you're starting to...
Yeah, the Bimini Road is like another rabbit hole. Like people need to like study that. Like you can see a lot of evidence for like ancient civilization. That's also like another rabbit hole.
See the blocks, the main section of the road.
Okay.
And you can definitively see the cracks.
Absolutely.
And the uniform shape of the road.
Definition is amazing.
These stones form a nearly straight path stretching hundreds of meters, with rectangular blocks fitted side by side in a pattern that resembles an ancient causeway. The scale and alignment of the stones appear deliberate enough to raise questions about their origin, especially since they lie in shallow waters close to ancient trade routes. Divers and researchers continue to examine the features of the formation with the hope of uncovering its true purpose.
It's clear that we're looking at a man-made structure. Huge efforts were made to create a leveled-off megalithic platform on a sloping landform, and in order to level that platform, they used foundation blocks underneath the large megaliths.
Arguments supporting an artificial origin point to the shape, size, and arrangement of the blocks, which resemble megalithic building styles found in other ancient locations. Some stones show signs of being trimmed or cut, while others appear stacked or positioned in a manner inconsistent with typical natural beach rock formations. Underwater surveys have identified right angles and uniform layers that could indicate intelligent design rather than random geological processes. Such characteristics suggest the possibility of human involvement during a period when sea levels were dramatically different from today. One of the central debates revolves around the dating of the stones and whether they were ever above sea level during the time of potential human occupation. During the last glacial maximum and the subsequent melting periods, sea levels were far lower, exposing vast island plains and coastlines now hidden beneath the ocean. If the Bimini Road formed part of an ancient harbor, breakwater, or ceremonial platform, it would have stood on dry land during a time when early civilizations may have inhabited the region. Radiocarbon dating of surrounding materials has provided mixed results, leaving the timeline open to interpretation. As sea levels rose during the rapid melting events of the Younger Dryas period, coastal settlements worldwide would have been inundated and lost beneath the waves. The Bimini Road may represent one of many.
Isn't it crazy? Like we're planning ahead for like space travel and all that shit, but we don't actually know like our own history itself. Probably because a lot of our history is like hidden by the elites. We don't even know that our past, what it is, and we just move forward without actually questioning anything.
Such structures swallowed by rising waters during this tumultuous era of global change. Its location in the western Atlantic aligns with long-standing legends of advanced island societies destroyed by catastrophic floods. For this reason, the site remains one of the most intriguing potential clues in the search for remnants of Atlantis or other prehistoric cultures now hidden beneath the sea. The Yonaguni underwater monument off the coast of Japan stands as one of the most striking submerged formations ever
Yeah, this is the one I was talking about in Japan.
discovered, featuring broad terraces, sharp angular edges, and massive stone platforms. Its geometric precision, with clean lines and right-angled corners, gives the impression of a deliberately engineered complex rather than a mere natural rock formation shaped by erosion. Some sections appear as stepped pyramids or plazas, while others resemble walls and corridors that evoke architectural intention. The scale of the monument is immense, suggesting it may have once been part of a substantial coastal settlement. The debate between natural geology and human-made construction intensifies each time divers reveal new features that seem inconsistent with random tectonic fracturing. Certain surfaces display horizontal striations that look like intentional carving, and the uniform height of some terraces hints at design rather than coincidence. Researchers have identified what appear to be basins, pillars, and even large blocks that could resemble separated building components. These details complicate the argument that nature alone shaped every aspect of the formation. If the monument is indeed artificial, it would imply the existence of a sophisticated culture predating the earliest known Japanese civilizations by many thousands of years. Such a culture would have flourished during a period when sea levels were far lower, possibly creating settlements along coastlines that were later submerged. The region around Yonaguni was part of a larger landmass that connected parts of Japan, Taiwan, and the Ryukyu Islands, creating ideal conditions for early maritime societies. The sudden flooding of these areas would have forced populations inland, leaving their coastal structures to disappear beneath the rising ocean. The characteristics of the Yonaguni monument align with global patterns.
Yeah, again, these hidden archaeological structures of the old world are inextricably tied to the flood myth. The flood is the cause that wiped them all out.
Of advanced stonework and architectural planning seen in other megalithic sites across the world. This raises the possibility that ancient peoples may have shared techniques or originated from a common cultural source that has since been lost. If the site preserves the ruins of a pre-Ice Age civilization, it would challenge conventional timelines and suggest that humanity's architectural capabilities emerged far earlier than believed. For this reason, Yonaguni remains a powerful candidate in discussions of submerged antiquity and the broader mystery of Atlantis-like civilizations. The discovery of orichalcum ingots off the coast of Sicily added a compelling layer to the discussion about ancient metallurgy and its potential link to the Atlantis narrative. Plato described orichalcum as a lustrous, reddish metal highly valued by the Atlanteans and used extensively in their architecture and ceremonial structures. When divers recovered dozens of such ingots from a shipwreck dated to antiquity, the composition of the metal immediately drew scholarly interest. Analysis revealed a copper-rich alloy resembling brass, which aligns strikingly with Plato's ancient account. The presence of these ingots on a trading vessel suggests that orichalcum was not merely a mythological material, but a product manufactured, transported, and possibly exchanged across Mediterranean networks. Its distinctive color and composition indicate specialized smelting techniques that would require a high level of metallurgical understanding. This raises the possibility that the knowledge of producing such alloys originated much earlier than the classical world, perhaps inherited from a lost technological tradition. The idea that ancient cultures preserved fragments of even older metallurgical practices is consistent with the pattern seen in other prehistoric anomalies. If orichalcum was sourced from a civilization preceding recorded history, then the ingots found near Sicily might represent remnants of a forgotten industrial lineage. Civilizations disrupted by major catastrophes often lose specialized knowledge that later cultures attempt to recreate with varying success. The survival of these ingots through centuries of maritime activity may indicate that their value persisted long after the original makers vanished. This supports
A lot of people have this notion like this civilization, oh, there's like primitive architecture and everything, but that's not the case. These people have advanced technology in order to build their shit, bro. They were not primitive at all. That's like lie promoted by the mainstream. Oh, there's some primitive. They're like a primitive civilization. That's definitely not the case. They were highly advanced. There's a reason why they're hiding, and they probably had free energy, and also like, and a lot of this evidence is not actually like data is actually not released into the mainstream. They always like concluded as just a myth. None of this data is actually released into the public.
the theory that early Mediterranean societies had access to techniques passed down from mysterious predecessors. Connecting the ingots to broader ancient trade networks reveals how technological ideas could spread across vast distances long before classical empires emerged. Maritime cultures frequently exchanged metals, pigments, tools, and luxury goods, leaving little textual evidence but abundant archaeological clues. If orichalcum circulated widely as a symbol of prestige or sacred significance, it could reflect an echo of a once dominant civilization known for its mastery of rare alloys. For this reason, the discovery near Sicily stands as an intriguing and tangible hint that Atlantis, or a similar advanced society, may have contributed to early metallurgical traditions now hidden beneath layers.
And also one thing, like the biblical account, like fallen angels actually coming down, and it's written in the book of Enoch. Like they thought, like they teach people metallurgy and all these things. Fallen angels, not fallen angel, like sons of God, actually came around, like, and the caused Nephilim, and they actually like teach humanity a lot about metallurgical stuff, cosmetics, and everything. It's written in the book of Enoch. They give all this divine knowledge that's not present at that time, and that truly exacerbated the civilization. I 100% believe in that theory.
Of time. The Piri race map of 1513 remains one of the most perplexing cartographic artifacts ever discovered, largely because it portrays coastlines that were supposedly unknown to explorers of its era. Its depiction of South America is remarkably accurate, including details of the eastern coastline that European navigators had barely charted by that time. Even more astonishing is the southern landmass that some researchers interpret as an outline of Antarctica without its thick ice cover. Such precision suggests the cartographer relied on far older source maps passed down from civilizations with advanced geographical knowledge. The Orontius Phaenaeus map of 1531 deepens this mystery by showing Antarctica with detailed river systems, estuaries, and mountain ranges in a way that aligns closely with modern seismic surveys of the subglacial terrain. This level of accuracy raises questions about how Renaissance mapmakers could have obtained data that even contemporary expeditions struggled to acquire. If these maps are indeed based on ancient originals, they indicate that early civilizations may have surveyed the globe with capabilities far beyond what historians typically attribute to them. The implications challenge conventional assumptions about the evolution of navigation and exploration. Such anomalies suggest that geographic
Reason why there's anomalies and contradictions in history, because half of our history is fake anyway. Like history is written by the victors, and half of it's like fake anyway. Like that's why there's like a contradictions. Like timelines doesn't make any sense, because a lot of this shit is fake. Thing they teach you, the naturalistic explanations, a lot of this actually fake.
knowledge may have survived through countless cycles of cultural collapse, migration, and rediscovery. Ancient mariners could have inherited techniques from predecessors whose charts were later recopied and adapted by medieval scholars. This would create a long, fragmented chain of transmission leading back to a highly advanced prehistoric source. The consistency seen across multiple mysterious maps supports the idea that they may share a common origin. The existence of these maps hints at a global cartographic memory preserved through time, offering indirect evidence of a civilization with a sophisticated understanding of Earth's layout. The accuracy of coastlines, longitudes, and polar regions requires astronomical observations and mathematical precision beyond what most ancient cultures are credited with. If such knowledge truly stems from lost societies predating recorded history, then these maps serve as rare windows into a forgotten world. This reinforces the possibility that Atlantis, or a civilization like it, once possessed the tools and expertise to chart the planet long before later cultures rediscovered those abilities.
If you study the old world cartography, like old world maps and shit, like there are different lands we don't even recognize. Like, it's kind of crazy. Not just like the ancient one, like the medieval one itself. There's a lot of islands we don't even recognize, and there's a lot of inconsistency in the history they actually teach us.
Across the world, ancient sites exhibit precision-cut stonework that challenges modern understanding of prehistoric engineering capabilities. Structures such as polygonal walls, interlocking megaliths, and perfectly drilled cores suggest techniques far more advanced than simple stone hammers and copper chisels. In many locations, stones weighing dozens or even hundreds of tons were shaped with extraordinary accuracy and fitted so tightly that not even a blade can slide between them. These feats imply a mastery of engineering principles that should not have existed at the time according to mainstream timelines. Some megalithic blocks show machining-like striations, symmetrical cut marks, and perfectly square recesses that resemble modern industrial workmanship. Similar architectural styles and construction methods appear across continents, from the Andes to the Mediterranean and beyond. These global parallels raise questions about whether ancient populations independently developed the same techniques or inherited them from a shared, earlier source.
Yeah, but a lot of people have the conclusion that they used people to push stones around to create pyramids. That's 100% not the case. Like, these people had advanced technology to help build this shit, bro. People didn't carry stones on their back and build that shit. That's just a lie, 100%.
Similarities suggest the presence of a master culture whose knowledge spread widely before disappearing. The existence of these engineering anomalies prompts researchers to reconsider how prehistoric builders transported, lifted, and assembled such massive stones. Traditional explanations involving ropes.
Yeah, this explanation is stupid. Like, you know the amount of how much people would it take, and how much years and years would it take to move a stone if it was actually just based on just ropes and shit with people. I'm not doubting human indomitable will of the humanity and shit, but 100% explanation gave us inconsistencies and contradictions.
Wooden sleds and manual labor often fail to account for the scale and precision of the work. Many sites feature blocks positioned on steep mountains, tight ledges, or elevated platforms where conventional methods would be nearly impossible. These logistical challenges indicate that ancient engineers possessed a level of technical skill far beyond what their period should allow. Connecting the worldwide distribution of advanced megalithic construction to the idea of Atlantis introduces the possibility of a central hub of knowledge that influenced distant regions. If a highly developed civilization existed during the late Pleistocene or early Holocene, its collapse could have scattered its technology and traditions among surviving cultures. Over time, these fragments would appear as isolated architectural anomalies that seem disconnected from one another. In this context, megalithic engineering becomes a potential legacy of a forgotten golden age whose innovation still stands silently across the planet. The ruins of Akrotiri on the island of Santorini reveal a remarkably advanced Bronze Age city that was abruptly destroyed by one of the most powerful volcanic eruptions in human history. Its streets, multi-story buildings, and sophisticated drainage systems demonstrate a level of urban planning far ahead of many contemporary societies. The frescoes found within the homes depict vibrant scenes of daily life, maritime activities, and religious ceremonies, showing a culture rich in art and symbolism. Everything about Akrotiri suggests a thriving civilization suddenly frozen in time by overwhelming catastrophe. The eruption that buried the city under meters of ash mirrors Plato's description of Atlantis disappearing in a single day and night of misfortune. Archaeological evidence indicates the inhabitants had little time to react, leaving behind possessions, pottery, and tools that speak to their interrupted lives. The scale of the destruction reshaped the entire island, forming the caldera that dominates Santorini today. Such a dramatic event illustrates how fragile ancient societies were when confronted with the immense forces of nature. Akrotiri's advanced technology has led some researchers to propose that it could represent one of the many civilizations whose sudden disappearance fed into global flood and destruction myths. Its maritime connections suggest that the city may have been part of a larger Aegean network that traded widely and shared cultural innovations. If such networks were disrupted by the eruption, the resulting loss of knowledge would have echoed for generations. This makes Akrotiri a valuable case study for understanding how advanced societies can vanish almost without a trace. The site also emphasizes the possibility that similar, even more ancient civilizations could have existed and been destroyed long before recorded history began. If Akrotiri, with all its complexity, could be lost for millennia until rediscovered by accident, then entire prehistoric cultures could have disappeared beneath oceans, deserts, or volcanic debris. This reinforces the idea that Plato's story might reflect a real memory of urban centers wiped out by sudden natural disasters. In this sense, Akrotiri stands not only as a remarkable archaeological site, but also as a powerful reminder of how easily entire chapters of human history can be erased. Doggerland once
Natural disasters or God commissioning a flood to wipe their asses off the face of the earth.
stretched across the North Sea, forming a vast land bridge that connected Britain to mainland Europe during the last ice age. This region supported forests, rivers, wetlands, and human communities who thrived in what would have been a fertile and resource-rich environment. Archaeologists have recovered tools, bones, and remnants of ancient settlements from fishing nets and seabed surveys, proving that Doggerland was not an empty wilderness, but a thriving prehistoric landscape. Its gradual disappearance beneath the rising sea offers a rare glimpse into how entire worlds can vanish without leaving visible traces on the modern surface. As the ice sheets melted after the Younger Dryas, the sea level rose dramatically, engulfing low-lying coastlines and forcing the inhabitants of Doggerland to retreat inland. What had once been villages and hunting grounds slowly turned into marshes, and eventually, a drowned continent. The final submergence may have occurred catastrophically when a massive underwater landslide known as the Storegga Slide triggered tsunamis across the region. This sudden event would have devastated any remaining communities and hastened the complete disappearance of the land. The story of Doggerland demonstrates that advanced prehistoric societies could have existed along coastlines now buried deep beneath the ocean. If an entire region as large as a modern European country can be swallowed by the sea within a few millennia, then countless other coastal civilizations may have suffered the same fate. Rising waters tend to erase architectural evidence, scatter artifacts, and conceal the true scale of ancient settlements. Such conditions make it extremely difficult to reconstruct the past using only surviving terrestrial sites. The parallels between Doggerland and the Atlantis narrative are striking, especially in terms of submersion, rapid environmental change, and the loss of cultural memory. Plato's description of an advanced island civilization overwhelmed by the sea no longer seems implausible when viewed through the lens of Doggerland's disappearance. The geological and archaeological evidence confirms that whole populations and landscapes have indeed vanished from human sight. This makes the possibility of other submerged civilizations not only reasonable but likely.
There's a lot of ancient civilization in the rabbit hole. If you check, like, a lot of Lemuria's one, Agartha, like, there's a lot of them.
Given Earth's long and unstable climatic history. Plato's description of Atlantis stands out because of its extraordinary precision, with measurements, architectural details, and geographical clues rarely found in allegorical stories. The mention of concentric rings of land and water, a sophisticated canal system, a powerful naval empire, and a sudden catastrophic end all align with discoveries from various submerged sites. The fact that he dates the destruction to roughly
Yeah, it's written in Plato's Timaeus. I read that book, Timaeus. Like, I don't. It's not a very long book. It's like it's like a 10 pages whatsoever. Like, very tough read. Like, it's not like a good book to actually read. Like, talks about the formation of the world soul and how the world's soul is consists of mixtures of different things. It's crazy if you actually read Plato's Timaeus, bro.
11,600 years ago is striking because this corresponds exactly to the Younger Dryas boundary, a period marked by intense global climate upheaval, rising temperatures, and megafloods. This alignment between
It took me like a couple of hours to finish it, but it took me like an entire day to like know what the fuck he was actually talking about. Like, he mentioned Atlantis in just like a single 2 paragraphs. That's it, and rest of it like crazy shit. How the universe was formed, his idea how the universe was formed, the soul universe as a soul itself. It's kind of pretty crazy.
myth and
I suggest you guys should read Plato's Timaeus.
geological reality suggests that Plato may have been transmitting an ancient historical memory rather than inventing a symbolic narrative. Evidence suggests that this shift may have been triggered by a cataclysmic event such as a cometary impact, a series of air bursts, or the rapid release of meltwater from collapsing ice sheets. Geological layers from this period contain microspherules, nanodiamonds, and melt glass, all of which point toward extreme heat and violent environmental disruption. These signatures indicate that the event was global in scope and capable of devastating entire ecosystems and human populations. The Younger Dryas impact hypothesis proposes that massive firestorms ignited across continents, followed by years of darkness, plummeting temperatures, and widespread extinctions. Coastal areas would have been especially vulnerable as glacial melt accelerated, causing dramatic fluctuations in sea levels and the flooding of low-lying regions. Any advanced societies living near shorelines could have been wiped out almost instantly, leaving only scattered remnants far inland. This rapid destruction helps explain why so little physical evidence remains of potential prehistoric civilizations. Catastrophic events of this magnitude would have created conditions in which cultural knowledge, complex engineering, and technological traditions were abruptly lost. Surviving groups may have been forced into nomadic lifestyles, abandoning the architectural and scientific achievements of earlier generations. Over time, the memory of these lost cultures could have been passed down as myths describing gods, floods, and vanished golden ages. The sudden collapse of global stability would have made such stories incredibly difficult to preserve with accuracy. Linking the Younger Dryas cataclysm to the Atlantis narrative provides a plausible framework for understanding how a once flourishing civilization could disappear without a trace. Plato's description of cities swallowed by the sea aligns with geological evidence showing abrupt and violent shifts in ocean levels during this era. If Atlantis existed during this tumultuous period, its destruction would fit naturally into the pattern of global upheavals known from the scientific record. This makes the Younger Dryas one of the most compelling candidates for explaining the disappearance of advanced prehistoric cultures now remembered only through fragmented legends. Göbekli Tepe stands as one of the most extraordinary archaeological discoveries of the modern era because its age and complexity defy everything previously assumed about early human societies. Constructed more than 11,000 years ago, long before agriculture was believed to have developed, the site features massive T-shaped pillars weighing several tons and arranged in circular enclosures. These pillars are intricately carved with animals, abstract symbols, and figures that indicate advanced artistic and symbolic thinking. The sudden emergence of such monumental architecture poses a challenge to the traditional view that complex societies evolved only after farming took root. The craftsmanship required to quarry, shape, and erect the enormous pillars suggests knowledge and organizational abilities far beyond those of small hunter-gatherer groups. Göbekli Tepe appears to have been a ceremonial or ritual center, yet constructing it would have required hundreds of workers, sophisticated planning, and a deep understanding of stone engineering. Archaeologists remain puzzled by how such a site could exist in a period when tools were supposedly primitive and social structures limited. Its existence implies that advanced knowledge may
they taught us like Iron Age, Bronze Age, like Iron Age, the Copper Age, and stupid shit like that. Like I don't even know why I believe in those kinds of things. There was like a Bronze Age, and Iron Age, an Ice Age. Bro, this is a speculation and theory. There's no actually single proof these kinds of age actually existed. Like we should be skeptical and critically analyzing everything about what kind of history they teach us. Not just be dumbasses and accept everything they teach.
have been preserved or inherited from an even earlier, now lost tradition. Another mystery lies in the abrupt appearance of the site, which shows no clear developmental stages leading up to its construction. Rather than an evolutionary process of gradual refinement, Göbekli Tepe seems to burst into history fully formed with its architectural style already mature. This suggests that the builders either had access to knowledge accumulated over vast periods or were influenced by a culture that existed long before the observable archaeological record. The idea of a forgotten source becomes especially compelling when considering the site's intentional burial long after its use. Göbekli Tepe's existence supports the notion that humanity's deep past may contain chapters far more sophisticated than mainstream timelines allow. Its monumental scale and sudden emergence mirror legends of ancient centers of knowledge that vanished after catastrophic events. If such a tradition once spanned continents and passed down engineering techniques, Göbekli Tepe could represent one of the last visible traces of that inheritance. This makes the site a crucial piece in the broader puzzle of lost civilizations and the possible echoes of Atlantis-like cultures that once shaped the ancient world. Across continents and separated by vast oceans, ancient cultures preserved myths describing a great civilization that flourished in a golden age before being destroyed by overwhelming cataclysms. In Egypt, traditions speak of the Zep Tepi, a time when gods or divine beings ruled a sophisticated society that later vanished. In Mesopotamia, the tales of Eridu and the antediluvian kings recount eras of extraordinary longevity and knowledge that ended with a massive flood. These stories mirror the legends found among the Maya, Polynesians, and various Native American tribes who similarly describe skyfire, sinking lands, and the loss of ancestral homelands. The striking consistency of these myths, despite cultural isolation, suggests they may
Every time they talk about the Anunnaki, these kinds of divine beings, it just keep in mind they're fallen angels.
be echoes of a real prehistoric event experienced globally. Many accounts describe advanced beings or teachers who brought mathematics, astronomy, agriculture, and architecture to early humans, implying contact with a more developed culture. The sudden disappearance
Yeah, it's written in the book of Enoch. Angels from above, like they fell in love with humanity and like they were taking human wives and shit, like causing upheaval, and they were teaching humanity like metallurgy, cosmetics, and shit.
Of these figures
It's all written in the Book of Enoch, which they don't even consider as like a biblical canon anymore.
is often linked to environmental upheavals that wiped out their cities, leaving survivors to rebuild with only fragments of the old knowledge. Such patterns raise the possibility that these myths preserve memories of the same ancient catastrophe. Polynesian legends speak of Hawaii, a homeland swallowed by the sea, while the Hopi recount earlier worlds destroyed by floods, fires, and shifting lands. In India, the tales of Dwarka and Kumari Kandam describe cities and continents submerged beneath the ocean after immense
It's also known as Lemuria.
geological changes. These narratives share central themes of moral decline, divine warnings, and cataclysmic endings, echoing Plato's story of Atlantis. Their overlapping motifs hint that they may stem from a shared memory rather than independent invention. The recurrence of these accounts suggests that ancient peoples preserved the trauma of global destruction through oral tradition, symbolic storytelling, and religious myth. Over generations, these memories became embedded in their cultural identities, gradually transforming into legends of gods, demigods, and vanished realms. If such myths are indeed based on real events, they may represent humanity's collective memory of a lost civilization that preceded known history. This reinforces the idea that Atlantis is not merely a philosophical allegory, but a possible recollection of an advanced society erased by ancient cataclysms. The possibility of an Ice Age civilization becomes more plausible when considering underwater cities like Pavlopetri, Heracleion, and the sunken ruins of Helike, all of which demonstrate that ancient myths of vanished cities can correspond to real historical sites. These discoveries show that human settlements have been lost to the sea many times, proving that the premise of Atlantis is not inherently mythical, but rooted in known geological processes. The ruins found off the coast of Egypt, with entire temples and streets preserved under sand and water, illustrate how a thriving port city can be swallowed by the sea and forgotten for millennia. If such events occurred repeatedly across the globe, a larger and more advanced civilization could easily disappear without leaving evidence accessible to traditional archaeology. When the various pieces of evidence are examined together, a coherent story begins to emerge that connects geological upheavals, submerged landscapes, and anomalous discoveries scattered across the globe. Each site, artifact, and myth appears to represent one fragment of a much larger picture that becomes clearer only when viewed holistically. The disappearance of coastal regions like Doggerland, the precision of ancient megaliths, and the sudden emergence of sites like Göbekli Tepe all point toward a shared prehistoric narrative. These clues suggest the possibility that a highly advanced civilization once existed and was later erased by planetary-scale events. The global rise in sea levels, combined with violent climatic shifts during the Younger Dryas, would have devastated coastal populations that depended on stable environments for survival. Cities located near shorelines could have been swallowed by the sea within a generation, taking their infrastructure and technological achievements with them. Survivors would have migrated inland, carrying only stories, memories, and scattered traditions that later became the myths of golden ages and fallen realms. This slow cultural diffusion explains why advanced symbols and architectural styles appear abruptly and without clear developmental pathways in later civilizations. Ancient maps like those of Piri Reis and Orontius Phineus further expand the narrative by suggesting that accurate geographical knowledge survived long after its original creators disappeared. The preservation of such maps implies that
The preservation of such maps debunks the whole present narrative. It was until the 18th or 16th, 15th century we actually figured out the entire map of the world. That's definitely not the case. If you even study old map cartography, if you even study these kinds of things, you can see not just our present day map, but also existence of different kinds of continents and architecture, different types of continents that we have no clue what they actually are. For Doggerland, for example, and things like Lemuria, it's also known as Kumari Kandam, these things actually existed.
fragments of advanced wisdom persisted through secret channels, scholarly traditions, or forgotten archives that resurfaced centuries later. Likewise, the discovery of metals like orichalcum hints at early metallurgical practices that may have been part of a wider technological system, now mostly lost. These scattered remnants form the silent testimony of a forgotten era. Considering all these elements together makes the Atlantis narrative more plausible as a symbolic memory rather than a standalone myth. The convergence of evidence from geology, archaeology, mythology, and cartography supports the idea that humanity experienced a profound rupture in its history. This rupture may have erased entire civilizations, leaving only traces that appear mysterious or out of place when viewed in isolation. In this integrated context, Atlantis becomes a representation of a real prehistoric society whose existence is reflected in the surviving fragments of our ancient world. Long before recorded history, there were advanced ancient civilizations capable of building gigantic megalithic structures we can't build today. lifting enormous stone blocks weighing thousands of tons and stacking them with laser-like precision. Blocks we still struggle to lift even with our modern cranes. They crafted mathematically precise, flawless monuments from the hardest stone on Earth, leaving us to wonder who these builders were and how they accomplished the impossible. Were they merely primitive societies, or were they masters of a forgotten technology, lost to the sands of time? Uncover the evidence of an ancient, global, and technologically sophisticated civilization that once ruled over our planet, constructing gigantic sites the ruins of which are still standing, before a cataclysmic event erased it from memory. Access our ebook, Prehistoric Megastructure.
Yeah. So that's about it, bro. Like, use your critical mind and think these are not just myth, and don't believe definitely what they teach you. That's about it. Like and sub.